Welcome to the off-season CPD coaches presentation. This is number 6. A big shout out and thank you to our head of performance, Ross Bennett, who is in charge of this initiative. This is actually the 7th presentation because the last one, physical fitness, Ross broke into a part A and a part B. I was going to say that this was the last presentation, but actually, happily, Ross has produced a bonus episode as well for anybody who's been following these CPD sessions. The bonus session, make sure you check out. It's going to be released in the next few days. It's a really brilliant and interesting piece of work that Ross has done. It brings everything together and it's really great. I'm looking forward to sitting down and watching it from start to finish. To the members, I don't need to tell you to head over to dailysportscience.com because I know all of you guys are and gals are up on that already. I will say thank you very much to everybody, new members and older members. We had a brilliant Christmas and New Year period for the club, the business, the DSS group. We've nearly doubled our membership, and it's great because it allows us to do new initiatives, bring in new coaches, and devote more time to this. But without further ado, let's head over to the presentation. I'm going to do a PowerPoint. Setting up a high performance model for sport, and also I've wedged in there a bit about development as well, because we're all about performance and development here at Daily Sports Science. But also it started out as a presentation on devising a culture, an environment, and everything like that, and it kind of took off from there a little bit more. This is some work that I'm doing currently as part of a steering group with Wexford GA. I'll show you a little bit of the stuff we're doing. I won't be able to show you all of it, unfortunately, but hopefully a few months down the line, we'll be able to share all that out to everybody in the GA world as well. I am very excited. Later in the year, we hope to actually build a level 1 certificate in DSS performance coaching, and some of this stuff will lead into that, but just bring it on to another level again. Okay, this is my reference article, so I'm going to work off this article quite a lot. It's something that we'll be putting up on the website, or maybe it's on there already. I need to check. So it's Building a High Performance Model for Sport, a Human Development Centered Approach, by my old lecturer in Middlesex University in London, Dr. Anthony Turner. Some good other people involved there as well. Some people with in Middlesex University and elsewhere, and I would recommend anybody to take a look at. Okay, so high performance model for sport is a really nice little acronym of VMOST. So that's building then your vision, your mission, your objectives, and from that then your strategies of building a good culture, your core values, and your philosophy. That's either philosophy of training or philosophy of your club or county. And leading on with that then when the strategies, it comes into play things like important information about your facilities, resources, programming. Then maybe you're involved in sports science and S&C, so it'll be fitness testing, and also research and development, innovation, something very, very important in any high performance model, and also then the tactics. So that's like the exercise, the tests, the drills, activities, games, stuff like that. Okay, so this is one that actually they came up with in the paper. Now it's definitely geared towards S&C and sports science, but I'm just using it as a nice little example. And with this in mind, so the vision really is something to aspire to. That's your overarching vision. It can be somewhat abstract. So they've gone to like push athletic boundaries, inspire athletes, unlock true potential, etc. The mission then is a little bit more based in reality. So how are you actually going to achieve that? And they've gone to create a high performing training environment where success is inevitable then. So it's a little more realistic. Then the core values, something that I love. In QPR Academy, we have the 3 R's, as in QPR. It's respect, responsibility, and resilience. And I like this type of thing. I'm passionate about this kind of stuff involved with high performing teams, but also involved with kids teams and club teams. I think it's very important that you have your core values, but also that you set out, well, what are your core values? And then you stick to them. Moving on down then, a little bit about the culture and then the training philosophy. So in order to, I just want to show you a picture of when you bring it all together. So you have your vision up on the, up at the top point there. And then under it, then you have your mission leading in from that. And around that then, whoa, I've got my marker, nice. Then you've got your training philosophy, culture, values, and then these are some of the strategies that you need to work on as well. Okay, again, this is S&C based, so they're looking at in their technical and tactical. So these are the coach's KPIs. So good to set out what your KPIs actually are. What are the important things, key performance indicators? These are S&C, but you can set them up for Gaelic football, for hurling, for rugby, for soccer, whatever you want. And these are, in order to be good at lunging distance, you need unilateral power. That's your physical quality. Then these are the tests that you do, and then these are the exercises that will build on that. Okay, and then the whole training map, which is what we would call this here, that fits in nicely then with your vision at the top, your why, your how, then your mission statement, your core values, and also then the culture that you seek to set up. At the bottom then, you've got your philosophy of training or your philosophy of practice. And then at the very end of the how, well then they're your strategies. So facilities, programming, fitness testing, review meetings, CPD for staff and for athletes. So that's how it all fits together. And I do know that a lot of clubs and counties now at the moment are actually setting up their performance plan. And I think that's a brilliant thing. I would recommend it to do it for your own individual team, but also in your club. I'd recommend to keep it short, keep it snappy, make it memorable. Think up of some acronyms, you know, that will fit in with your core values, for instance. And this is the best way of people actually remembering. Like I mentioned in QPR, we have the 3 R's: respect, resilience, responsibility. And it's very easy to remember them, but also then the best thing about that is that you can question players if they're, or staff members or coaches, if they're exhibiting behavior that's in contrary to the core values. Well, you say, okay, well, did you show resilience in that situation? Was there respect towards other staff members or players? So it's a kind of a guiding principle to live your life by and also to operate in your place of work or within the team. And I think that's really important initiative to do. Of course, the importance then of your mission and vision, you have to have a guiding principle then to, or objective to aim for. I want to show you then briefly just as an example, and I always think the best coaches are thieves where they can steal from the best. And I've read some of these plans from New Zealand Soccer, have an amazing one, from Arsenal Football Club, from all different types of sports, different sports and clubs from all over the world. I just want to give you an example of Arsenal's physical development program that they've developed. So this is one aspect of the high performance model. It's not the only one, it's one aspect. So you have your player pathway, but also this is the physical development. I'm going to go through this fairly quick. So this is their physical development framework, as they call it. So they go through 4 phases: functional competence, movement skills, integrated conditioning, and planning and periodization. And obviously anybody who listening to Des Ryan speaking in Croke Park a number of years ago, he would have gone through this. I think the video was up on YouTube. So again, that's a framework. It's all about creating frameworks, models, and pathways that your staff, coaches, and players can understand and can apply to the daily work then that you do, your strategies, your tactics every day. So you know that, okay, well, does that exercise, does that activity fall within that framework and under one of those sections? And that's important. This is their development structure. They've got coaching, recruitment, education, welfare, operations, and sports medicine. And again, a nice departmental structure to set up. Summary of their sports science and medicine roles and also the services provided. And again, the nice thing, it's all out there for everyone to see, it's published, but it's showing, well, this is what we do. So who is doing it? When are they doing? What are they doing? So for instance, there you've got players are fitness tests. Who carries that out? The S&C coaches. When do they do it? 3 to 4 times a year, depending on the age group. Okay, maturation based assessments also, workload monitoring weekly, etc. So it's great just to put it out there and show people this is what we do. Okay, this is one that I've been doing a little bit of work on with a few people. It's only a draft and it's definitely not the final product, but this is an example club. So performance and development focusing on, so it's sectioned off into people, playing or the game, coaching, the environment, and then the player or the future player. Okay, and it's important that you can section things off. So as I said about the last few slides about the S&C, that's only one small aspect of that. So just looking at our Wexford one, so we've set out our vision and mission. We've kept them fairly short. As I said about the vision, it's aspirational, it might be slightly abstract, but it's something to aim for into the future. The mission then is a little bit more practical based. It's something that's attainable, and what are you actually going to do? So it can be something, so the vision can be something like a shorthand can be to achieve success at the highest level consistently, etc. Stuff like that. The mission can be, well, how are you going to do that? I'm going to implement a high performance model for GA. I'm going to focus on development. I'm going to focus on participation, etc. Then you're setting out your objectives, your culture, and your philosophy. So the exact objectives that you're going to aim for. So it can be to foster a holistic development pathway, or to devise a coaching pathway that caters for both the novice coach and the elite coach. Remain true to the ethos and values of the GA, make people proud, etc. So these are the specific objectives you're looking to attain. Then the culture, and this is a really nice little section where you can, you can say, well, who are we? Well, what type of culture are we looking to set up around this club or this county? And okay, well, are we willing to learn? Maybe our focus is on the process rather than the outcome. Maybe we don't believe in winning at all costs. Maybe we're determined in creating a player of the future, etc. And then just a little bit about our philosophy. So it can be developmental, nurturing players, etc. So that's for you to think, well, what represents you? And I do like if you think, every club, every county, every team is unique, and you need to think, well, what makes us slightly different than other the club team down the road, that dividing line between parishes? Why are we different? Well, then I would say get that in somewhere in there within the culture or your philosophy. The core values, these are not the core values for Wexford, the great George O'Connor. We've set up some other ones, but I just want to give an example here of things like resilience, creativity, player ownership, responsibility. And then you can always bring that back to the players there and say, okay, well, did you show responsibility there? Did you show player ownership for that when we asked you to do this or that? Did the coaching staff show determination and resilience? So it's good guiding principles to work off. Okay, just a tiny little bit about the development structure then. So this is the team behind the team. So you've got the player or the person right there in the center. And then you've got your coaches, which are, along with the parents and guardians, are probably the most important people surrounding that player. Also then you have the sports scientists, the medical performance analysts, who I feel are really important. I don't mention the fellow professional support staff like nutritionists, psychologists, etc., but they're all there as well. And then the county board or county committee, as they're now called, and that's that support, development support structure around the players. Okay, I think it's very, very important then that you should always be able to set out, well, what's your playing philosophy? And if you can't put that on one slide or on one short document, half a word document, well, then you don't know it. And I've read lots of philosophy documents from all around the world, different sports, and what I find is that they're very wordy, There's a huge amount of writing, a lot of Word documents. They're too long and you can't remember them. The players are never going to read them, never going to remember them. So I would say keep things short. I've broken mine down into the players and the team separately. In the players, then the four corner approach of technical, tactical, physical, and psychosocial. And then I'm saying, okay, well, what type of player do we want to create, and what type of players are we? Okay, so we're comfortable on the ball, we're both-sided, etc. Tactically, we're adaptable, problem-solving. Physical, we're dynamic, fast, powerful. Psychosocial, we're determined, resourceful, unselfish. And then think about your team. So how do you play in possession when you're in attack? How do you play out of possession in defense? You might be expansive in attack. You might be narrow and tight or strong in defense. What about your goalkeeper? Do they sit in the goal or do they come out and play? What about your kickouts, your set pieces, and your substitutes as well? Supporting the team, they're always stay within the group. So again, that's for you to devise your own one. Sit down. I'd say it's very worthwhile. Once you take over a team, that's the first thing I would do. Okay, next then, so we just move on a little bit, like I mentioned, to playing philosophy. So this again comes into setting up a high performance model, but also of development as well. So I'm looking at the principles of play for the team, the unit, and the individual within the 4 moments of the game. Now, the 4 moments of the game are, as I say, in possession, out of possession. And then as we can see, that transition from defense to attack and from attack to defense, they're the 4 moments. So what does your team look like during those 4 moments? And that's important that you're able to set that out. A 5th one then, just to add in as well, is set pieces. So what do you do around set pieces? The principles of play are the type of attacking principles and defensive principles in that moment. And the team, the unit or the position and the individual must all be catered for at all stages as well. So it's a whole approach where you're looking at the team, position, and the individual. And it's important that you can break that down in your sessions and make sure all those components are catered for on a daily basis and also within your program. I'll show you in a second about that. So this is our individual coaching approach. This is the way we coach at all stages. We're plan, do, and review our training strategies. And we're, as I mentioned, specific player and positional outcomes and team outcomes. So that's the player, the unit, and the team. It's a 4-corner approach of technically, tactically, physically, and also psychosocially. And there's also, you're thinking of the environment. And when I say the environment, I mean not just the weather, I mean the environment of the whole setup, the session, the team, the support staff, the sports scientists, etc. So these are the principles of play, and where do you fit into that? So what I've done is we're devising new ones with Wexford GA. So at the moment, I've taken these other ones. These are from UEFA B course that I'm on with the English FA. So the attacking principles of play. So these are the things to remember your players need to do, and are they involved within your sessions at all stages? So do you give them a chance to show individual brilliance, the penetration, creativity, and the defensive ones, delay and deny, compactness, balance, etc. So they all have to be within your sessions, but also are the players exhibiting that? And I'm thinking then, becoming more specific, and what is every player doing before, during, and after the ball? And that's important. So coach around that, not just on the ball or during. So what about before? What about afterwards? What are they doing? And then how is your movement on the ball, like we always do, but what about around the ball, away from the ball? So are we making lots of multi-directional movements to get free of our man and get away from our marker so we can get on the ball then? Our session plans then, okay, we covered that. So my coaching process generally, I'm looking at my team practice, my unit phase of play, my position specific work for individual player, our individual units and positions, and then my individualized coaching for each player. And every drill and practice and activity I do, I'm keeping that in mind, and I'm making sure that I'm touching on those things. It might be that I'm starting off with some individual practice within the session after the warm-up, moving into some teamwork, some unit work, bringing it into a phase of play where nearly everybody's involved, and then finally then it could be a game where it's more about the team practice. This is something I touched on previously, where then we have individual action plan or individual development plan for each player, where it is player-led and coach facilitated. We sit down with each player and we work out, well, what are they good at technically, tactically, physically, and psychosocially, and also then what do they want to work on in that as well. What's an area of development for them? They come up with their mission statement. What do they want to do? What do they want to be? And then they write down what's their super strength? What's the one thing that makes them great on your team, and what is it? And it's important for them to remember that. The important thing, like I've said before, is that these are specific outcomes then within the four-corner approach. So specific goals and specific outcomes. So it may be that they want to work on their weaker side, but be more specific. In what situations? When they're out wide and when they're hugging the touch line, when they're coming in off the line, when they have their back to goal, when they're facing the goal, when they're running in, when they have a support runner with them. Get really, really specific. Okay, just to finish off then, the GA now want us to do a player development plan in each county, in each club. And I just thought this was quite a good quote where it said, in the GA Talent Academy and player development report to inspire our youth to enjoy our games and become lifelong active members in our association. And that's important. And how you do that, so this is a bit of a structure then. So we're looking then at organization management structures, participation, talent ID and development, player support and welfare, coach and stakeholder development, games program, facilities, funding. So there are 8 components that you need to think about. It might seem like a lot, but it's the kind of stuff that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So you need to remember those components when you're devising your player development plans and your club development plans. Remember then, this is the player pathway framework. So this is already done by the GA, by Brian Cuthbert and Michael Dempsey and their committee. So it's breaking it down, the new document out there, that's the foundation, the talent and the elite phase, rather than child, youth and adult. Stakeholders involves the players, coaches, parents, guardians, administrators, development officers, teachers, or boss careers, families or partners, depending on whether it's children or adult. So these are all the people that are involved around that player. So they all need to be engaged with, and that's very important. Think about then the units of the GA. So there's the club, the school or third level or workplace, and the county. And then the key components at all stages are the player, the environment around the player, and then the game. If you want to break that down further, then the environment includes support staff, so medical, sports science, S&C, nutrition, administrators, fans, everything around the player. And then the game is either obviously the competitive game, or it can be the training session. So what's involved in the training session, that's the key component. Okay, and this is the player pathway framework that the lads devised in Croke Park. So again, the foundation phase, the talent phase, and then the elite phase. So from club leading into talent academies and development squads and up to senior inter-county level. Okay, at all stages, with every presentation, I'll always say, try to write down 3 points to take away with you that are important, that particularly stuck out with you. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you look back at it again. Hopefully later in the year, we'll be able to do a more comprehensive one when we publish it out, our Wexford GA one, which will be great. I'm really excited about, and there'll be some interesting discussion points around that. So thank you for listening. Remember, we're up on Twitter, so that's my own CI Deely, that's the business Deely Sport. Anybody get in touch with us, just go to email info@deelysportscience.com. You all know the website at this stage, deelysportscience.com. And then remember our Facebook group as well, if you want to follow us there, or we're on LinkedIn or Instagram as well. Okay, thank you very much. And I'm really looking forward to Ross's, I'm really looking forward to Ross's final episode, where a little bonus episode. I think you'll quite like that, and I'll be really interested to watch that as well. It's been a brilliant initiative. I'm really glad people have enjoyed all of the coaches' CPD sessions, the off-season CPD sessions, and enjoy the last session. Speak to you soon. Thanks, guys.